Hello and welcome back to the weekend spread season previews. We're making our predictions for every conference, and this time, look, we can't just do one. We're doing all five of the group of fives. We're very hyped for this. I'm your host Bobby Howard. With me today, we got Boatin Blake, king of the crumbs, the master of the underdogs here, and Blake. If people have been following, us in the weekend spread, we love these games. But for those who are uninitiated to I don't know, the group of five hive, uh, let the people know what you love so much about the group of five, why these games are fun to bet, and really, essentially why they should be interested in this episode as a whole.
Yeah, so this one's kind of a weird one because not many people are interested in Group of Five football, but honestly, as a gambler, it's become my absolute favorite. So, first thing, I just enjoy the product that they've put on the field. It's really these conferences across the board. The recruiting and talent is pretty even. You're not. One of these teams might get a 4-star every once in a while, but teams are basically starting with the same rosters, and it just matters about culture, it matters about brand, and that's really what succeed in these conferences. So we kind of see the same 4 or 5 players each year. Unlike some of the P5 school, the P5 conferences, the G5 winning the conference actually matters. They prioritize that. P5 winning the conference does not mean you're going to make the playoff, because really if you're contending for a P5 conference, you're wanting a playoff spot. But these guys, besides maybe what Cincinnati did last year, they just care about winning the conference. They will schedule really hard non-conference games for the cash, but they will come in and fight for conference games. So I like that so much. It makes it so refreshing that any team can beat any team in conference because they all have the same goal. It's not like OU in the Big 12. They're not looking for the Big 12 title. They're looking for the playoff. Everybody has the same goal. And lastly, the times. The times are great because you usually get them on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night, and if they're on the weekends, especially for my favorite conference, the Mountain West, you're getting them at funky times at night when no other games are going on, and that's all you want to watch. So it really it just fills the need of football when good football isn't there. And so even if you don't appreciate the conferences, the brands that are in them, at least it's football when football's not on.
There's just something really lovable about them because it's like this more pure version of college football where the whole conversation isn't about the playoffs, the New Year Six. It's just about winning your games and trying your best to win the conference. I think there's something that's really fun about it, and I know I love it. Love partaking in a good Thursday night, some Sun Belt action, or the lovely Tuesdays whenever they come in. So anyways, let's break down each conference. We're going to go by kind of conference strength. So we're going to be talking about some of the better over-unders, the champions of each conference, and then also, with some of these week 1 matchups. Look, these group of 5 teams can sneak up and bite you. And I think there's some pretty dangerous ones out there. So as we go through the conference, we'll look at candidates for upsets for sure. So let's get this thing started with easily the strongest group of 5 conference. They are the ones who once said it was the Power 6 after realignment. That is definitely not going to be the case. But the American, which has some pretty decent teams in it, put a group of 5 team in the playoff for the first time last year with Cincinnati, and has a lot of interesting teams as well. So let's get this thing started off, Blake. Do you think Cincy has the horses to bring this thing back, get another American championship, and maybe make another kind of run at the playoff? Or do you think that was just a one-and-done dream season?
I think one and done dream season for now. This Cincy team, I think, definitely has a chance to win this conference and be in a New Year's Six bowl, just with how the New Year's Six bowls are set up, that best group of 5 that is ranked gets in. And so the good thing about Cincinnati is they can kind of repeat that on that scale. But look, they lost every good player they had. They returned, they're returning, if you look at the returning numbers, they look really good, but they lose Desmond Ridder, Sauce Gardner, and Kobe Bryant, who were 3 of their best players to ever go through that program. What made them be Cincinnati, that head over, just the head above all the other G5 teams. And not having that is a little concerning to me. The big thing here is they don't draw Houston or Memphis in the conference, which are two of the bigger ones. So I definitely could see them like in the American Athletic Championship again. I just don't see them getting anywhere near the playoffs like we saw last year.
Yeah, and as you know from last year, they had a really tough schedule that they did well at. But I think they're opening up at Arkansas, which is
Yeah.
that's tricky as hell. So that playoff run might be done by week one. But overall, who do you have as a champ? Because I actually I really like, if we're talking betting, I really like Houston at plus 240. I don't know. I'm just kind of feeling that, like, feeling Dana Holgerson, and I also, I kind of think since he's going to have a bit of a drop off. What do you think about that? Are you with me on the Houston train, or are you sticking with?
I am riding Houston this year after their bowl win against Auburn. Really impressive team. I think Dana Holgerson kind of got off to a bad start because his first year was the year where, like, the entire team quit on him. Like, De'Aaron King just, like, stopped playing. And so he had no players then. Then they had the COVID year, which is not a good bounce back year. But kind of in the third year, when they saw his players there, his system being implemented, they were really good. Like, besides their loss to Texas Tech early on in the year last year, they were on a win streak till they lost to Cincinnati at the end of the year. Like, this team was kind of, like, with Cincinnati in this conference head-to-head. And they return, I think, huge pieces. You got Clayton Tune and Tank Dell, good quarterback wide receiver combo. I think I would say I like Clayton Tune as the best quarterback in this conference this year, and so they lost their star running back in spring practice. He tore his Achilles, which kind of hurts, but this team just returns a lot of talent for a sneaky good beat a P5 team in a bowl. Maybe not the best one, but I think I love that bet, so I love it. I'm all over it.
Yeah, no, I think there are two teams who can make a one of those New Year's Six bowls. Houston is one of them, and I think there's another one who we'll bring up when they come up. But yeah, no, I'm with you at plus 240. Not the favorite, but I really like that a lot. Do you have any, like, I don't know, kind of sneaky dark horse picks for the American, or?
I don't know if there's really sneaky dark horse because I see a cream of the crop in the top three, with UCF being the other one. Even though they're losing Dylan Gabriel to OU, which kind of sucks, like, before he got injured last year, they were looking like halfway decent. But they bring back Isaiah Bowser, who I love, like, just elite running back name. And so they bring back, I think, 9 starters on defense. I think Gus Malzahn is in the perfect situation for him. It's like, was he a great coach? No, but I think he's a very good coach, and I think very good coaches at UCF. That's like you don't have as much pressure on you. You can kind of, like, what he did was basically raided Auburn in the offseason. He's like every good Auburn person that hated, like, playing under, what's his face? Who's the Auburn head coach? The one that's Brian Harsin.
Oh, yeah, Brian Harsin, yeah.
Like, everybody that hated playing there, just come here, like, come back to Papa, and we can make a juggernaut here. So I really like UCF, because after that, I'm looking at on the ratings, SMU, which I will get to them in a second, Memphis, ECU. I just can't see any of those teams getting it done.
See, I like SMU plus, like, 1,000 as, like, a super weird pick for it. Like, if it gets wild, it really depends on how much you like Sonny Dykes as a head coach, which obviously, Blake, I think you're a fan of Dykes. I don't know. I don't know if Rhett Lashley can get it done. But if you like Tanner Mordecai, he's a pretty solid, quarterback, not too bad. SMU had some ups and downs, so I don't know. I feel like if Dykes was back, obviously the odds would be better, and you'd be a little bit more excited about it. But I really think it just comes down to Cincy and Houston, and we're talking realistic, picks for that.
I agree.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right, we've talked about that. So over-unders, like, are there any over-unders that you like from the American?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about, like, Houston. Obviously, it's over 9 wins, minus 130 juice. I love that. I think this team could honestly go undefeated going in. Like, could be kind of that Cincinnati team, like, not make the playoff, of course. I don't think that team's that good, but could easily make the New Year's Six Bowl, being the G5 representative. These are going to be some slander picks, but first we talked about it. SMU trash program. Screw you guys. Thank God I had people on our message boards, which you can vent on message boards. I'm fine with that. I'm a message board warrior myself. But if you are a fan that signs up for your rivals' boards to post there, you are jabroni. And there's so many SMU little jabronis on our board when OU and Texas left, saying that they were destined to go to, like the American was going to be the next bastion of football, and that TCU was going to get screwed. But screw you guys. We took your top 3 teams. We took even Houston over you. So suck it, SMU. We took your coach, which that was all you had. Like, Sonny Dykes actually had that program going in the right direction. Like, beat us at home last year versus our, like, legend of Gary Patterson. But screw you guys, you jabronis. Under 7 wins. I am taking that, slamming that. I don't care if the juice is plus 500. You are not doing crap this year. You are not going anywhere because your program sucks. You've put $1 million into it. You building all these nice facilities for absolutely nothing. Have fun in the new Conference USA, the Conference America, as I like to call it, with UTSA, Rice, UNT, all those scum Texas programs. Have fun with that. You can dominate that, but you will not be relevant ever again. So, under 7 wins, and then last one, I'm going to hell for this one. Ty's gonna kill me. Navy under 4.5 wins. Navy sucks. They are so bad. Navy used to be a bastion of football where their triple option was feared. I remember when Navy was 10-2, 9-3, like, was going up against good teams, and then I felt like Army stole their magic a few years ago, and Army's kind of been that program. I do not like their head coach. I do not like anything they put on the field. 4.5 wins. I'm looking at their schedule. Let's just flip over there. They have a stupid hard non-con. Why do you schedule Notre Dame? Like, why? Like, you schedule Notre Dame as one of your non-cons, and then yes, it is a credible threat. I'm sorry, but this team is trash, and they have to play Air Force, who I think is going to be an awesome team this year. Army, I think, is better. Like, they have their only wins I'm actually giving them is Delaware, and then I'm giving them maybe Temple. But that is it. That is it. Like, this team is going to be, even if they can beat one of their Service Academy foes, I think under 4.5 is a steal. I'm sorry. I'm going to hell for hating on the troops, but hopefully I can make it back in this later in the episode with Air Force.
Blake just doesn't respect the troops. It's okay. Okay, so I'm going with, I only have one for you. I really like UCF under 8.5. No Dylan Gabriel. I don't know. I think 8.5 is a little bit too lofty. That, extra half game, just a little tricky for them to get to 9. I don't think they hit it. So give me UCF under 8.5. And I just think they're overvalued. I don't think they're going to be garbage. I could easily see them hitting 8, but I don't know that plus 110. I think it's a no brainer to me. I think they're a 7-win team. If they get lucky 8, but that's my call on that. So, so of the American teams, and this is kind of less of a upset because, let's be honest, these are really solid teams. Do you see any of them kind of pulling off any Power 5 upsets? Because let's be honest, Houston plays like Kansas and Texas Tech. I don't think either of us would call those upsets.
Yeah.
But like a true upset.
Yeah, like, that's kind of the problem with this conference, because it's like, I look at it, I'm like, Texas Tech and Kansas on Houston, like, I think Houston's the better team there. You mentioned one in Cincinnati at Arkansas, like, that's a really hard game, but, like, Arkansas, it was pretty volatile last year, and Cincinnati, I kind of know what I'm going to get from a Luke Fickell squad now, and especially the first game of the year. Like, I think Arkansas could be on upset watch. I think Louisville is going to UCF, which I just feel like has danger written all over them. I know Malik Cunningham, great quarterback, but honestly, I like looking through this conference. It's not even like ECU plays North Carolina State, we went over in the ACC pod. I love North Carolina State. I don't see them slipping up there. And then like the only other bastion of hope is like Memphis. But looking at their schedule, like they were smart. They scheduled a whole bunch of nobodies. Besides, I guess Mississippi State. But ooh, actually, let's do it. Mississippi State. I'm going Memphis at Mississippi State. Memphis upset. They're too close. They're too close.
I feel like they've played recently and they pulled it off.
Did they play last year?
Yeah,
they pulled last year. They beat them last year, 31-29.
There you go. So I have one that I don't think is going to happen, but I want to speak it into existence right now. Tulsa at Ole Miss.
Oh, God, Bobby.
Tulsa's garbage. And I don't think they'll be able to pull it off, but it would be really funny if it happened. So I'm just going to say it's going to happen.
I felt bad. Like, Tulsa the past few years has been, like, not absolute trash. And I just felt like they never got the spotlight that they deserved. Like, they were a solid program.
They had that really good run where they almost beat Cincinnati when Cincy made, the Peach Bowl. I think it was the COVID year when they really, really made a run. I could be wrong, but, you're right. They haven't been bad. They've kind of leveled up. They were, they're not awful. And I don't think they're able to beat Ole Miss at the Grove good, but I don't know. It'd be fun. I think that's a fun one to watch. Tulsa's, kind of a tough competitor. I would say I'm going to pick Tulsa to cover, but.
Yeah, and y'all got to remember, Tulsa went into the horseshoe last year and gave Ohio State a scare for like 3 quarters, and like that was not a good Tulsa team at all.
Not at all. Oh, not at all. Not at all. So, all right, that's all we got for the American. Let's move on to the Mountain West. So, Blake, last year, Mountain West, we saw a bit of action with it. Kind of a wild conference. Definitely the standard, I don't know, the pillars of the Mountain West were not there at the end. I think the championship game was Utah State and San Diego State. So this is a conference that was a bit more up for grabs last year. But I don't know. Do you see the kind of, if you're looking at the odds, Boise State, Fresno State, right back there at the top in terms of championship odds. Do you think it's going to go back to normal, or do you think you have another weird kind of wild season in the Mountain West?
I think this one's going to be even more weird and even more wild. I really don't think... Last year, it was kind of apparent that there wasn't going to be a top dog, because if Boise's not the best team, like head over all the other teams, then it really is a wild conference. But there is probably about 5 teams that could legitimately win this conference, and that's not even including the ones that could come out of nowhere. Like, nobody saw Utah State there last year. Nobody saw Utah State in the game, and nobody saw Utah State to win that game. So I love this conference, because like you can cut out maybe the bottom 2 or 3 teams, but besides that, anybody can beat anybody. It's peak G5 football.
Yeah, no, and it's incredible, and not only that, but you have that late night factor, which I think makes it even better. I love a good conference that plays at weird times, and I as much as I love a Tuesday or a Thursday, there's some kind of fun about a late night Saturday. Just kind of to wrap the bow up. Maybe if you're trying to come back, make a really weird late night pick. So who do you have to win the conference?
Okay, so this is a weird conference because it still has divisions, and as we mentioned on the weekend spread last year, the creative geniuses and marketing department at the Mountain West have the conference called the Mountain and the West. So we will start with, I guess, the juicy conference. This is the Mountain West Mountain this year. This one's tasty. This one's really tasty because you got at the top, you got Boise State. Boise State, y'all know the brand. Everybody knows them. They were abysmal last year. Like, they started off horrible, kind of got hot at the end. They bring back most of those guys, but, like, is their coach, after Brian Harsin left, like, is kind of the magic gone at the program? Like, no, like, I don't know. Like, I don't believe in Boise State. I'm not thinking they're going to be the ones to win the conference, but obviously, I think they're the odds-on, besides maybe Fresno State, to win this. And the next one is Air Force. Air Force is awesome. This, if you love triple option football and want a little bit of modern flair to it, this is the team to watch because they still run the traditional triple option, but they actually throw it. Like their quarterback had over 1,000 yards throwing, which is wild for a Service Academy team. And so they are my favorite. Like I am slamming the odds on them on their win total. I'm slamming on them to win. I think this Air Force team is disciplined. Like that's why I like the Service Academies because they don't really have ups and downs. And seeing them last year, like they were super close to making the title game, and they had like the teams that they lost to, the ones at the top, super 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 close margins. Like they can play we saw it against Utah State last year. They went into a complete shootout. They can play in the trenches like a normal Service Academy. I love them. The third one in this one that you got to watch out for, incumbent champ Utah State. They came out of nowhere last year. They absolutely like ran over those bums in San Diego, 46-13. Don't forget, we don't talk about the bowl game, but we remember that game.
That's what matters.
Slammed Utah State plus value in that game. Logan Bonner, the quarterback, is back, and they play no defense, exclusively offense. Fun team. But I gotta go Air Force. I'm rooting for the Falcons this year. I think out of the mountain, I love them. I love those odds, and I just like what they've assembled there.
Yeah, for sure. I think Air Force is a very fun team. It's always good to see the triple option in action. And I gotta say, Utah State to win the conference is plus 900 on DraftKings Sportsbook right now, which I feel like that's a little bit of disrespect to the Aggies. And not only that, I don't know. I know they had a lot of transfers. I know a lot of the star players from that team last year transferred out. They had a couple transfers in, and if they can implement them, if this system and momentum keeps going, that plus 900 is not a bad dark horse pick.
They look like a G5, like old Oregon or Baylor when they're really clicking. Like, it's one of those, if they're not clicking, it's bad. Like, I watched them versus an FCS opponent last year, and it was like, this FCS team's gonna run over them. Like, they can't do crap. Like, they can't hit a pass 5 yards in front of them. But when it gets clicking, they're putting a 50 burger on you easy. So, I love those odds. I'm, like, basically gonna load up probably those two in maybe like a Colorado State. I just want anybody in that title game from the Mountain Division except Boise, and I love the odds of any ones that you can get besides those.
Yeah, for sure. And I will say if I'm having to pick a champ, I like Fresno State at plus 240, mainly just because of my love of Jake Hayner, who comes back to the Bulldogs this year. If we're going to go with a front runner, why not go with Fresno in my eyes? But I know you've had your thoughts last year on Hayner's potential overratedness, but I don't know. He got me some money against UCLA, so I'll never forget him.
Yeah, that was like a weird. I know he's hobbled up. Like the guy's a baller. Like he's gonna be one of those like sneaky like Kellen Moore like Heisman candidates. It's like they're probably not gonna make the ceremony per se, but it's like hey, they're like 7th and 8th in Heisman votes. Like that's a really good like coming out of the Mountain West. Like that's an incredible thing for a quarterback. And they lost their coach to Washington, but brought back Tedford, who was their coach before. So I like that. At least like they're kind of in sync there. That I'm not gonna knock them. And I know they return like 15 or 16 starters, which is just ridiculous. So they're basically running back this team. But every time, like after that UCLA game last year, I was so hype on Fresno State to actually like pull it off, and then just fell flat. It was just like Jake Hayner kind of had that one game and deceived us, and they fell flat after that.
He used up all of his magic and then just disappeared.
And then that's why those bums in the South were able to make it into the championship game. So I like Fresno State. The good thing about if you're taking plus 350, I think they are gonna be in the championship game. So at least you have like that. Like if you're betting on one of the mountain teams, it's not a for sure at all that they're gonna be in the championship game. But I think that's the benefit of Fresno State, that I think they can hobble their way to the championship game, and then you can hedge out at it, like at the game, if you don't actually believe in them.
For sure. Now let's talk about some potential Mountain West upsets. I don't think we have a ton of them here, just in terms of what I've seen. I've actually the two that I think are the most likely are both Week 0 games, and I don't want to get too deep into it because we're we have week 0 pod coming up, obviously, when week 0 hits. So I don't want to blow our wad on that one. But Vanderbilt at Hawaii, the nice week 0 Hawaii test in the best way possible. And then you also have Wyoming at Illinois. I'm not sure. I'm less sure on Wyoming at Illinois. Not because I think Illinois is very good, but Wyoming is a bit of a mess. I just know not to bet that one because, as we know from last year, Wyoming's a bit of a wild card and should not be trusted under any circumstances, both good or bad. And then you have Vandy at Hawaii, which look, even though Vanderbilt's garbage, the bottom of the barrel in the SEC, they're still an SEC team, and the Hawaii test hasn't been tested like that in a good while. So. We need to see if Hawaii on Island is good enough to beat the SEC. Those are the two that I've seen. Anything you've seen through the crumbs?
Yeah, like, it's not really the crumbs, but, like, I'm interested, at least in week 1, Boise State goes to Oregon State. I think that's, like, I like watching, like, a really good G5 team against, like, a middling P5 team. Like, Oregon State, I wouldn't say is, like, necessarily bad, but not good. Like, I just always enjoy those matchups just because they are pretty equal and can get entertaining games. And then I think Air Force beats Boulder. I think Air Force is the king of Colorado this year, and they just dominate the state. So they'll get to play Colorado and Colorado State in the same year, which I love, and I think Air Force is going to be the kings of Colorado this year.
That would be, wow, that would be pretty impressive. It's weird to think about that being an in-state rivalry, but it totally is. And Oregon State, last time they played a Mountain West team was Utah State in the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl. So, and they lost. So, that I wouldn't put it past them there. I would not put it past them at all. So we'll see how that goes. But I think that's all we have for the Mountain West.
No, we got win totals. I haven't been able. There are some hits here. I am spraying the board, folks.
I'll just let you take this one away. Go for it.
And so I don't even know what the math adds up for any of these because I'm taking 4 different ones, which, like, the more win totals you take, like, you have to remember all these teams play one another, so they do, like, the math affects one another whether they're winning throughout, but first,
you can't take the under on everyone.
Yes, it will even out, but I don't care about the math, I care about principles. This is a conference of principles. So first, UNLV over 4.5 wins. This is insane because last year we bet UNLV over 1.5 wins. So they are saying that they are saying they are 3 wins better than last year, which they had a lot of close games. I get that, but I just believe this program is going to take the next step. I know they got some quarterback. I don't know who. Some transfer. UNLV's always the Justin Rogers from TCU, former 5-star or high 4, low 5-star went there, bust. And, like, they're the king of the reclamation projects. Tate Martell. Like, they are the 3rd stop on the train station. But I believe in something that UNLV can build in the desert, and 5 wins would be awesome. Because I think New Mexico's going to be trash. I think Hawaii's going to be trash. So at least you get 2 wins there. Plus they have a good favorable non-conference. I like them. I like them.
Notre Dame?
They do. That is a loss. I will give you that. Yeah. That is a loss. They play Notre Dame, but they play Idaho State, California, which we don't know. Cal is just, they're going to disband football in 10 years. Let's be honest here. They don't care.
Maybe less given,
They gave their coach, Justin Wilcox, an extension, and he's been, like, perennially, like, 4-8, 5-7. Like, he is just not a good coach, but they're just like, I guess stability is nice. We know what we're gonna have to pay a coach. So, they could beat Idaho State. They could beat California, I think. They play bum Seth Luttrell, North Texas. That's a win. They play New Mexico, Hawaii. That's 5 wins right there. I love them. Give me UNLV. It's principle. It makes sense. Their dumb little transfer experiment is gonna work. Ignore the fact they were 2-10 last year.
It's a 3-game addition because they lost Tate Martell.
Yeah, it probably is. It probably locker room cancer. Like, locker room cancer. That shows how bad Tate Martell is. Like, UNLV played, I think the last 6 games, 2 quarterbacks played in every single game, and Tate Martell was never one of those guys. Like, that is so sad. Like, I watched so many day UNLV games, and Tate Martell never saw the field. So, principal bet over. Ford's gonna be mad here. Hawaii under 4.5. This team is really, really trash. Like, I'm sorry. Like, they have the on island magic, but every player transferred from that program. Like, it was such a failed experiment last year. I know they have a new coach, Timmy Chang, back in Hawaii on island, which I think will be good for them, but I just think they're going to be like utter garbage. Like, could only have like 2 wins this entire season.
Yeah, and I mean, just the previous head coach, I'm blanking on his name so bad, was such he was a program killer. It was a
Yes.
total disaster. You know,
Like,
that's a hard thing to recover from.
and it's so rare to see like 25, 30 guys transfer from a G5 school. Like, at least with like a situation like Auburn, you have places to go being in an SEC school in the P5. Like, you can go to other SEC schools, or like you could go to top G5, lower P5. You have options. You don't have many options as a Hawaii transfer. Like, they're like, you are a specific breed, and they wanted to get away from that program so bad.
It was Todd Graham. Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that.
Todd.
Didn't his son transfer away from him?
Yes, his son transferred.
So
They were having
left.
they were having like legislative hearings. Like, this is so bad. Like, this guy mistreats the players so much. We gotta get rid of this man. Like, it was that's gonna be a hard thing to rebuild from. Like, we saw it with some of like the toxic like Baylor teams, and like their next year they win 1 game and like they're a P5 school. It's like, too toxic of a culture there. Like, really the only thing they have going for them is that their home is so far away that it catches people off guard.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Air Force over 8.5 wins. Already covered that. I just think Air Force is going to be a really solid team this year. Could go 3-0 in non-con. And so that gives them a big boost. And then finally, the final principle, because we haven't talked about them yet, but talk about those bums, those jabronis down in San Diego State. It's not even a state, it's a city. You idiots, you can't even get the name of your school correct. Under 7.5 wins, slam it with the mortgage. I do not care. Your program last year was your offense was straight trash with a decent defense and the best punter we've ever seen. You were flipping fields like no other and chanced into touchdowns. You played a legitimate team in Utah State Aggies. Howdy, y'all. And you lost by 30 points when it really mattered. I don't care what you did in your bowl game. You didn't win the Mountain West. That's what teams care about. They don't care about the bowl games. They enjoy the trip. We know we all enjoy trips to Arlington. That is why UTSA didn't get up for that game. Frisco, nice place. And so, you bum school, your bowl game doesn't matter. I don't care if you made the championship last year. Under 7.5 wins, you're not winning the game this year. You don't have your punter to save your ass now. Get out of here. Get out of the conference. I hope you go to the Pac-12, because the Pac-12 is a dead man walking right now, and I hope you get those screwy rights. You are going to get a disproportionate Oregon-Washington taking all the money, and you are going to make 0. You're not going to win anything. You're not going to get any money. Screw y'all. Aztecs are not back this year. Go Bulldogs in the Mountain West. Under 7.5, lock. I don't care if it's plus money on the under. I'm taking it.
Wow. Well, that was a lot. I like it though. I don't know what I have in response to that though, because frankly, I don't. The Mountain West is probably the least one I'm into, so we'll just move on to. And Blake, honestly, you gave us 4 really good ones. So let's move on to the Sun Belt, my personal favorite group of 5, the Fun Belt, featuring some of my favorite teams that I just really like to watch. You know, Appalachian State, Coastal Carolina's fun. Louisiana is always a great time. They've expanded, adding in Marshall, James Madison, which should be a fun addition. You know, kind of see, like, is this juggernaut of, you know, D2 of the FCS, like, how are they going to fare in, you know, major college football? And I think, I don't know, I think it's going to be a really interesting season, to say the least. James Madison cannot play in the conference championship
Nope.
or the postseason for some reason. So you can,
And they have limited scholarships on top of that all. Like,
so they might be screwed. But I don't know. The Fun Belt is looking like a good time for sure. So Blake, who's your favorite to win the Sun Belt this year? Who do you like best?
Yeah, I gotta go with Appalachian State. Yosef, they are a steady breed over there in, was it Boone, North Carolina? They
Yep.
are just you look at the recruiting rankings in the Sun Belt and they're like fourth or fifth, but they turn out the best team almost every single year. They're always formidable, and like this is just my little ballad to the Sun Belt. Y'all did what G5 should have done. Like you in the Conference USA went head to head, and y'all chose programs people care about, not in big markets, but that people care about, and gave a great brand of football. But yeah, like App State, I think is the most talented. They have Chase Bryce back, who's probably the second best quarterback in the league. Absolutely love them. They have to play Coastal and Marshall on the road, which is a little bit concerning, but I just think this back to back. But I just think like this team gives everybody fits. Like even I feel like in down years, they still only have like 2 losses in the conference. So I probably like App State to come out of the East Division since they still do have divisions.
Yeah, no, App State. They are for me easily, my pick. If you've been a longtime fan of the show, you know that I love App State, love Yosef as we call them due to their mascot, and I don't know. I think it kind of works. It's a relatively light schedule in the Sun Belt. They don't have to play Louisiana in the regular season. The only Sun Belt team they lost to last year lost to them twice. So I think that's a huge plus. If they can get past that Coastal Carolina Marshall road trip, that'll be difficult. And they also have a really tough non-conference. They host UNC, which hey, look, I kind of think that's my favorite upset by far. App State or UNC having to travel to Boone, that's going to be an insane atmosphere. I think UNC is only favored by 3, so there you go. But they also have to go to Kyle Field to take on Texas A&M. So
yep, they are probably honestly they might take UAB kind of does this. They schedule like a Georgia and just like do nothing. Like they just kind of lay an egg just because it's like let's not get injured, boys, and let's not give anything away for the conference, but let's take that nice like $1 million paycheck that the Aggies are paying us to come to town.
And that's why UAB is great, is because they suck so bad against non-conference opponents that the lines always go down. So you always should bet UAB afterwards because they're just there for the paycheck and leaving. They don't care about a big run. But I don't know. I feel like if App State can take down one of those Power 5 teams, I don't know. I kind of think they're a sneaky good run for that last G5 spot. I think it's enough to put them over the top in terms of facing them and them off against, like, say, a Houston. I think that's enough juice to kind of get them over the hump if they get that far. But it's a tough run, so they have to at least split that, I would say. But overall, I think that App State's the favorite in terms of like kind of, I don't know, sneaky dark horses. Who do you like? Because there's one that I really like, a big name that I feel like is a little undervalued. So who do you think?
I'm really loving Marshall. I think they kind of got like Marshall's a really good team. Like they were always kind of the cream of the crop of the Conference USA before they came over, and they get Rasheen Ali back, who's like their star running back. They play a great brand of football, like a perfect marriage with the Sun Belt. It's just like a really like passionate, smaller fan base and kind of like a remote area like joining this conference. And what you gotta love is like they bring good talent, but then they also bring like a great schedule. They play Georgia State, App State, Coastal, and the Raging Cajuns at home. Like that, and their home records are insane. It's like over the last like 6 or 7 years, they're like 50 or 60-14, and for like a G5 team, that's incredible considering how competitive these conferences can be top to bottom. Like you don't really see that in the G5. So the fact that they're basically getting every single big game at home this year, plus they have a pretty good talented squad, I really like them to challenge App State in the West.
Well, and I mean,
or
Marshall and App
Eastern.
State have played each other the past two
Yeah.
seasons. In 2020, they beat them straight up, and then last year they were in like a really tight game, like a 33-31 type of ball game. So they know how to hang with the best of the best in the Sun Belt, and I think they're going to be a very formidable opponent. Um, I also don't hate Coastal Carolina at plus 500. I know it seems like they're weakened a bit, but they have Grayson McCall back. I feel like that momentum in that program hasn't really gone anywhere. They still kind of have that strength, but I do think they're a step behind App State, Louisiana, maybe a little Louisiana Lafayette. I don't know, but Marshall plus 550 is that's pretty tasty. That's pretty tasty for sure. So let's move along onto over unders. So win totals. What do you think?
Yeah, so principle, I think we don't really know what they get, and so I love opportunities when Vegas doesn't know what we have, and we don't know what we have. But give me James Madison over 6.5 with the 120 juice there. They were a frisky FCS team. I think they have great culture. Will fit into this conference well. They're gonna be obviously hamstringed by the fact like they have a lack of scholarships on that team. Kind of some like FCS holdovers. Like I think the gap between maybe like an top FCS program and some of these like G5 schools is probably not as much as we think, but I think 6.5 wins right there, like going to 7, like is very reasonable just because nobody in the conference has played them really before, so they don't know how to prepare for them. They have a good, talented roster from the FCS level, and if you can't compete for the championship, if you get to a situation where you're at 6 games at the end of the year, like you're playing for every single game because that one truly is your last. So I really like James Madison. I think it's a great addition, and so they're probably my lock in this conference.
Yeah, at plus 120 as well on DraftKings Sportsbook, which is that's not bad. I see. I wanted to go over so bad, and then I checked the line, and I'm like, I just can't do 6.5. Yeah, it's just a little too much for me for a team that doesn't have that championship at the end and is just a little bit hamstrung. But I do think they're going to do very well. Um, I really like Georgia State over 7.5. I think that's a sneaky program that's gotten better over the years. And I think they're not quite at that tier, but I think a nice little 8-win season, especially if we get the juice at plus 130, I could see it happening. I kind of like that. What other ones do you have, Blake?
Yeah, so I'm trying to think. I just love the Appalachian State over to just you kind of went through it with the non-conference. If they can pull off UNC, like this could be easily like a 11 or I guess it'd be a 12-1 program going in because like they're gonna lose to A&M, but if they can get the UNC win, they should be favored in every single game they have the rest of the year. Like they're playing like after that like Troy, Citadel, Texas State, Georgia State, Robert Morris, like just really not like that good. And so I understand like you're basically factoring in that they're gonna have 2 losses, but this is by far the best. I think really is the best team in the conference. So getting 8.5, I think, is pretty juicy. Just give me also Boko under. We know Boko.
Boko
We
under.
don't know, no like they. I don't even think what was it. They didn't have a single recruit come in or something. It was something wild like that. They didn't have a single transfer or a single recruit or something. Like this
God.
team is just such a flop. They suck. Well, I don't care about Jameson's love for Boko. Boko under 5 seems like the biggest lock ever. I'm
Plus
flipping to
115 too.
I'm flipping to their schedule right now, and how I had the schedules is they're power ranked, and they were pretty towards the back. Yeah, play at Nevada, at Baylor. They'll get a win maybe at Houston Baptist, but we remember a few years ago, Houston Baptist, spicy against Texas Tech, and they have that CVS in their parking lot.
They have the CVS, not
CVS,
not just in the parking lot.
The
right
side
next
of
to
it, yeah, it's like one of the sides is occupied by a CVS.
Oh my gosh, what a cathedral of college football right there. Oh,
yeah, like I'm seeing maybe besides ULM and Houston Baptist, they're not favored in a single game. Like maybe FIU, but even then, you never know with Boko. Give me Boko under. Boko under.
I don't like the line, or I don't like the odds, but over 7 for Marshall is not bad.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. I probably would pass on that because you're getting minus 135. I don't know. I don't think that's worth it for a newcomer. But anyways, I think that's all we have for the Sun Belt, right? Let's move on to Conference USA. What do you? This is the most doomed. This is the most doomed conference.
Doomed conference. This is a true dead man walking. Literally every good team is about to get sucked away to the American, and there's nothing they can really do about it.
Yeah, I mean, they lost everyone to the American, and so their response was, I guess we bring up Charlotte.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And so it's kind of a 2-horse race. I think it's UAB. UAB lost their head coach in the offseason. I believe he's having some back problems and retired. So that's a big bummer. But like when you think of Conference USA, they have a great culture. They don't care about non-conference, only care about conference. They're just gonna be one of those teams that's always competing. The comeback story of them losing their program and then actually joining a conference and being not just a doormat and being kind of the perennial challenger each year has been awesome. So I have no bad things to say about UAB. And then like the other one that you're thinking of, UTSA, Jeff Trailer, yeah.
Trailer,
yeah.
You're right.
Jeff Trailer being there, like he's going to create a good culture, got a fat contract in the offseason. I might run something by you, Bobby. I'm a little bit worried Jeff Trailer might be like the next Seth Luttrell. Like, I remember a few years ago when UNT had that miracle season and Seth Luttrell was the hot stuff on the market. Like, Kansas State, who is like I know back in the days they might have not been good, but have a solid football culture, and they were thinking about hiring him. And so it kind of worries me that Jeff Trailer at a school like UTSA was getting offers from TCU, Texas Tech, like some of these like good Power 5 jobs, and was just like, nah, I will take the bag at UTSA. Like, they're not gonna fire him probably, but if things go south these next 2 years, he's basically like that was his last big contract, and he's just
that he
never
just
can
blew
jump.
his shot.
Yeah.
I don't know that. My thing is I feel like there's a difference between building a program at in Denton, which is essentially just like a truck stop of a town, and I hope nobody from Denton sees this and then tears me apart.
Dentonites are gonna hack our program. Like the hackers.
OU's gonna lose all their OU's gonna lose all their recruits from Denton. We're gonna lose Jackson Arnold. He's gonna get all mad and be like, "This guy called my hometown a truck stop." Hey, they do have a Buc-ee's, so
they do have a Buc-ee's, and it's so funny. Like I say, that's like probably the best part about Denton because I can stop there when going to Oklahoma City, and even the city of Denton did not want Buc-ee's there, so they don't know where their priorities are at. Like,
clearly
just
not.
Embrace it. Having a Buc-ee's is good.
Their economy is built on road construction and this one Buc-ee's. So yeah. So I don't know. I feel like they have like a Monsters Inc. style system where instead of the screams of children, they're powered on like just road rage of traffic cones.
It is the most annoying, like, stretch of highway to ever drive on. Like, I know my parents will hop on in Denton to the toll road to Dallas, which, like, takes, like, it adds an additional hour onto your trip. And, like, my parents still do it just because it's the most frustrating, slow, but everybody's going at, like, 100 miles per hour. Like, none of the lanes, like, I feel like you'll have one block that's marked, and then the next block is, like, unmarked highway. It's complete madness. Like, besides maybe, like, Houston, it's just, like, one of the more frustrating places to drive in Texas. I hate. I'm not a big fan.
It's the worst.
You gotta see that nasty green, the multicolored green Texas flag whenever you drive in with their abomination of a stadium that, like, if I ever buy season tickets at UNT, I'm buying the, like, one seat at the pinnacle of their little triangle, like, thing, that one seat and sitting there.
The little pointed apogee stadium.
Yes, it is like... I know they were trying to be cool, and it's kind of like an art school, but like, still, come on! Like, it looks so bad. Their branding is horrendous. Like the green Texas flag is
the green Texas flag is borderline like if you're a Texan, maybe unpatriotic towards Texas. I know how
But no,
that's a
I
thing,
think
but
some
like,
other ones do it good. Like I think
yeah,
like you could change it. It's just like the
it's
lime,
just
like the
gross.
like lime green and like the dark green mixed together. It's just
It's
disgusting.
the
Like
green on
it's
green isn't good. It's like when Michigan State does it, it's
they
bad. But
yes
yeah,
yes
oh,
like
so
those.
bad.
It's not a single person came to the defense of those uniforms, and
No.
like they just decided to make their like entire college branding be green on green.
Yeah, so I'm never going to listen to any complaints about how OU's alternate branding is wood, because green on green is at least like actively sickening. But anyways,
Is there actually a story behind the wood?
it's like, there's we have a wagon, and the wagon has wood. So like, I think the idea is like, yeah, that works. We
Yeah,
can't do
close
wagon
enough.
uniforms, so let's just do the wood. That's my idea, or that's what I think they're inspired it. But anyways, I think it's easier to build a solid program in San Antonio rather than Denton. And I think this is a year where they could really make some momentum if they get the wins. I think there's an upset, like maybe not an upset here, but I think if they can play Houston well, they have Houston in San Antonio. They also have they have I mean they have UT in Austin. I don't think that's I think as much as I love to just crap on Texas, I that might be a stretch, but I don't know. I think they have something going here. I think they play at Army as well, which should be a win. But it's going to be interesting, especially as they move into the American in the next couple years. So I don't know. I don't think that's the worst fear to have with them. I think that the move to the American is an appealing idea and helps in recruiting. But this is a year where you have to stack. You can't take a step back here. So
Yeah,
I'm with
and
you.
they lost a good amount of key talent. Like I think it's one of those like Cincinnati effects where it's like you get a lot of starters back, but you lose the key guys. Like Sincere McCormick's gone, who was like their fantastic running back, and just like pieces like that just kind of worries me. That it's like, oh, like even during that undefeated run before like they lost, it was like they were always, I felt like, just teetering on the edge of like this could easily have been a 8-4 team, but they just kind of like win the close ones.
They're a
But
reverse Nebraska,
yes,
essentially.
yes,
Like this
they
team
stole
should be
from
much better.
yes, it's like the team really wasn't that great, but they like got all the results that they needed to, and just like always seemed to pull it out. But
Gotcha.
that's college football. That's why we love it.
That is. So, other than UTSA, are there any other, I guess, UAB kind of, any long shots though? Like true long shots, you would say?
UTEP Minor Nation. Let's go.
Picks up.
Picks up because hey, like they were a team that was 1-11 for like every single year and then made a bowl. Like I love what Dana Dimmel's doing there. Give me the Miners. I'm down at El Paso. I want this team to win the conference so bad. Give me the Miners. Did it completely freeze on me? Oh no. Oh no.
Okay.
I
We
can
good?
hear
We good
you.
now?
Yes,
Okay.
the world couldn't take my UTEP hot takes.
My thing blipped there for a moment, so I was in full panic mode. Yeah, so sorry about the technical difficulties, folks. I hope that was gotten, but your takes on UTEP, the Miners. The stream immediately went to hell on my computer the second I did the little picks up thing. So yeah, you're big on UTEP.
Big Tech is back for all the big Sooner Pod fans. When Big Tech was ruining my dice streams, they are back. They couldn't handle these UTEP, these Minor Nation, El Paso, Texas. We love you. Give me the Miners to win. I'm gonna throw a nice sprinkle, like a little unit on UTEP and pray they win the conference. Give me the Miners.
That'd be pretty fun. That'd be pretty fun. Do you see any upsets, or is it just like for Conference USA?
Like it's pretty. These are just, I think, even too impossible to predict. Like UAB could beat Liberty, but like Liberty, I don't know what you call Liberty.
Liberty's win total right now is set at 6.5.
Like the one I would highlight that like would just be a dream, but I feel like there's some contract out there that they can't do this. But UTSA at Texas just upsets Texas in Austin, but I feel like the UT like the University of Texas like school system, like superintendent, board of directors, I don't know what you call the top level of the UT school system, will not allow that to happen. I feel like there's some charter back from the 1840s, whenever it was started, that like UT always has to be the best UT system program. That's why we get like UT Arlington Mavericks and like the UT Dallas like Cosmos or whatever they are, like that have never become powers, even though they have like 30,000 kids going to them. So they're artificially suppressed by the UT system.
Those goons in Austin are trying to keep them down. I bet they probably would immediately fire Jeff Traylor if he did that. Like the next day, it's like you're not supposed to beat Big Cow.
they go undefeated into UT, beat up, and they're just like, yeah, you're
This
done.
Program
you can't
disbanded.
be here anymore. Like
we have torn the program apart. But I think it would be great to see that. It'd be so fun.
It would be such a memey result, and just like Texas can't even beat like teams in their own program. Like I know like it's different when it's like a TCU or Baylor, like the private schools, or even like Tech. It's like a rival school system, but you can't lose to the inner school system once. You just like it means more. It means more
because then it's like we're the flagship now. You know, we run things through San Antonio, but yeah, no, okay. So I think that's all we have for the Conference USA. Let's wrap up with the MAC, a little bit of MACtion action, a little MACtion. It's just MACtion. What am I saying? What a weird conference. This is probably the most open by far. The best odds, or the lowest odds on the winner of the championship game is Central Michigan at plus 380. So yeah, it's open, Blake.
It like. I tried to prepare for the back, and like you try to do serious analysis, but like y'all watch MACtion. Like I know, like if you're a decent college football fan, you've watched MACtion before, and the style of play on the field is very resembling to trying to like predict what's gonna happen, because the odds-on favorite never makes it to the title game. It is like almost guaranteed. Like last year, I think I randomly threw like just like $10 at the beginning of the season, plus like $7.50 on Kent State, and like they were like fourth to last on odds and made the championship game. This conference like truly makes no sense, so just throw a little bit of money on some team, like as long as you don't do like an Akron like or a Ball State, like avoid those two schools and like you're pretty much good. Like you can just ride that wave, like just throw some random money, because I would love to sit here and be like, you know what, like Toledo really has that running game this year that's gonna like just like destroy the conference, but that's not how it goes. This conference makes no sense because they play on Saturdays and then like they'll randomly start playing on Tuesdays, but we'll still have Saturday games in those, so they're like on like 2 days rest some games. It's impossible to do schedule analysis. Like don't do a win total for the MAC, just like get the plus money and just like throw it on one person and have fun, because like you probably will get pretty lucky. Like even like Ohio, who's like super down in the odds, like they're always good. It's like they're just, these teams are all the same. You're just flipping coins each game and you hope they win. Like same betting on like a turtle race at a nice like at a nice resort. Like you don't know anything. You're just betting on the one that looks cool. So just find the team that you kind of identify with, throw $10 on it, and just like sit back and have fun on Tuesday or Wednesday night.
So My that's the move. In mine, I forgot you put money on Kent State, so it sounds like I'm piggybacking, but I promise you I'm not. The reason why I like Kent State is because they have the most sickos non-conference of all time. They play at Washington, at OU, and at Georgia in the
Oh
span
my
of.
god, they just collected the bag. They were like,
They're not going to try at all. So my thing
you
is, this is the UAB strategy on steroids. I think they're going to get ground down, and I think it'll toughen them up. Maybe maybe they learn some lessons, and maybe that strengthens them up for the MAC battle, or it completely wipes them out. I don't
about
know. There
See,
is
that's the problem. It's like, do you just send out your all your walk-ons for those 3 games because like you don't want to show the playbook, but you also just don't want to get destroyed by guys like twice the size? Like, do you just like throw out your nobodies and you're like, here, kiddies, like you want playing time?
we'll give
Have
you
fun
some
with Georgia, like.
we'll give you some as the NIL deal. It's just maybe it'll heal your bones after Georgia just completely steamrolls you in Athens.
And it's like so stunning to think that like they're gonna come into Norman and they're just gonna run the most vanilla plays. It's like, really, like if you really want to upset a team, you gotta throw out all the stops, and it's like, nope, like you gotta save that for MACtion. Like you're just running vanilla plays and gonna lose by 80.
Fullback dive, like 80 of your play calls, just right down the middle, just stumble over. I don't know. I that's why Kent State. I kind of love them, but I don't see them doing anything. They're definitely not going to upset any of those. There's one that I think is kind of tasty though. Central Michigan opens their season on a Thursday night in Stillwater. Last time they were in Stillwater, we all remember what happened there.
I love it.
Now they don't have Cooper Rush,
No
but
Cooper Rush. They got Jim McElwain though, the shark.
they do. They got the shark. I'm telling
It
you,
is Shark Week, people.
it's Shark Week. I'm telling you, and look, think about OSU, how great they were last year. People forget they opened their season by almost losing to Missouri State.
Yes, like it.
Yeah.
That team is so infuriating. I feel like the last 2 or 3 years in non-conference games that they just like don't show up. Like I remember 3 years ago, I was sweating out a Tulsa Oklahoma State game. I'd thrown the biggest bet I ever have down on Oklahoma State to like cover like 13 points, and I'm like sweating there. I'm like, oh my god, like this team is so bad. Like just beat them. Like just run. Like you can run faster than them. Just like do something productive. And I love that. I love it. They might not win, but cover the spread. Like
Tulsa
Central Michigan
couldn't make field goals was the problem. I remember that. They would get like right to the end and then miss a field goal.
That's also remember about G5 football. Like none of the kickers are good. Like we got Matt Ariza last year as a good punter, but even him, he wasn't like an elite kicker by any means. Like they're like. That's what is good brand of football. Like, you gotta score touchdowns to win this league. You can't be kicking field goals because none of them goes ahead. None of them go ahead.
Not at all. Not at all. It's just a mess. So, I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts on the MAC? Is there anything to even talk about with the MAC?
I didn't even try. I didn't even try. I've tried to break this conference down so much, and I just look like a fool. I just decided, I'm like, look, like, we'll have a little draft at the beginning of the season. I'll figure out just like which team I'm vibing with, like I was with Kent State last year, and I just roll with it, and that's what I'm gonna do.
You can't make reason out of something that is completely unreasonable. It has no logic. So.
And people, the big college football media won't admit that. They'll try to do their models and power rankings and stuff. You can't power rank. You cannot power rank the MAC. It is impossible. I promise you. You'll look like an idiot if you come out and be like, my models predict on a Tuesday night in Akron, Ohio with 50-mile-per-hour winds that Central Michigan, who hasn't lost a game, is going to come into town. No, like even if Akron has 0 wins, they're easily going to win that by like 30. There's no sense to this conference. Stop trying to make sense of it. Just find a team you're vibing with, throw some money on it, and just ride. It's fun. Don't have to think. Just cheer.
I like the strategy. I like the strategy a lot. Well, Blake, we have gone through every single Power 5 or Group of 5 conference, and we are pretty much done now. So, I think that's it for our Group of 5 predictions and preview. So, anything you want to say about the G5 before we wrap this thing up? And
Yep. just G5 football makes me excited for football season. That's when I know it's really back. Like, I enjoy the big matchups, but you know what? The true college football fan really loves just watching on a Thursday night, UNLV going up against Nevada, two of the worst teams, and just like it being a complete meme. And like, that's why I like this brand of football. It's like for people that like high school football, you get part of that elements, and for people that like college football, it's just it's a crapshoot, and like that's why I love it. It's fun to gamble on. It's fun to watch. Like even if you don't gamble, it's just fun to watch. So
I mean, it's
I want to grow the brand of G5 football because that is what will save the future of college football so that we still have this in 10 years. We can't get rid of this. Like college football is not the same without your James Madisons, without your UNLVs, without your no San Jose States. You can't do college football if you don't have these random teams that attract 30 people to the stands and like you feel like you are like the biggest fan of that team considering that like you are probably one of 100 people in America watching it. It's the best feeling ever. The survival of college football cannot survive without the G5. It is so necessary. So save it, and I hope to grow the brand this year that we get more G5 fans that love to watch.
I'm with you, and look, I'll be right there beside you, betting on Nevada at New Mexico State to open up the college football season. It's technically the first game. It's on a Friday. People forget about that, but you know what? We will always have respect for our G5. So if y'all listen to this, thank you all so much for enjoying it. We will be back next week with another Schooner Pod and another preview. I can't remember which conference it is yet, but
I don't know. It's they all get lost in my head. It's not Big 12 probably, and it's not SEC. So
it's probably the Pac-12.
It's probably Pac-12. Yeah. Like probably Pac-12 next week.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, you and Ty for Pac or something. I can't remember. But either way, thank you all so much for watching or listening. No matter if you're either listening on your favorite podcast network or watching on YouTube, we always appreciate it. So. Until next time, have a good one. And, good luck out there.